Welcome, everybody, to episode 90, Chat with Gunner, which I'm pretty sure it's 90 because the last time I checked the YouTube page, it said 89, and the last time I could count, this would be 90.
Yes.
If you throw in Chat with Ethan's, this is probably 93.
93, 94. Yeah.
Roughly. So, you know, man, we've been doing this for a while now. We've got the pattern down. We've got the formula down.
We walk in here without an idea of what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was talking to the guys at work earlier. Now, it's funny how, like, we don't have no clue what we're about to talk about. And then all of a sudden it's just like, and story time.
Yeah.
So I was talking to some of the guys at work the other day about, you know, just social media and podcasting and life and just things, I guess, for the most part. And kind of put this into, you know, perception for myself. So at the end of the day, say this podcast never made money. Say this podcast never received more than 10,000 views on a video. Say this podcast, outside of a few listeners in Chattanooga or whoever's listening to it, really just fizzles out and becomes nothing. But you stay consistent with it, right? And you keep doing these weekly or bi-monthly or quarterly or twice a year or once a year, whatever it ends up being for the long term, whatever. Just, you know, not saying anything, just saying whatever. One of these days, when we're 50 years old, Ethan, we're going to be able to go to YouTube and click on Chat with Gunner episode 37.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at 37, that's probably going to be the year 2020, somewhere around July, August-ish, probably. And you're going to be able to see what a 29, 30-year-old Gunner was thinking, or a mid-20s Ethan is thinking. You're going to be able to see that in about 15, 20 years. And I guess
Chat with Gunner 37 was our goals podcast.
Yeah, it's cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what your goals were on that. What's that date?
That was September 21st, 2020.
That's close. September 21st, 2020. And when one of the craziest years to ever happen in modern history.
Yeah.
We've got every week documented. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And to be able to go back one day and look at it, because I think it'd be really cool. You know, you hear all these stories of, you know, your older family members or your friends' parents or grandparents or, you know, your coaches or your mentors or your bosses or your teachers or, you know, whoever these people are that are in your life. And, you know, when you're in high school, maybe you're 18 and you're like, man, I wish I knew what that dude was like when he was 18, telling me what he thinks best for me right now. And then you could go to YouTube possibly and find him when he's 18 and see exactly what he's thinking for the most part.
That could be both a good thing or a really, really bad thing.
It could be. I mean, this is going to be the first, you know, generation that grows up 100% digitally on the internet, stamped, certified. Everything out there is exactly what you wanted the world to see. So you can either make it how a lot of people do it on Instagram through pictures, through Photoshop, through motivational quotes and, you know, showing the bright spots of life, which been there, done that, thought that was cool. I was playing the light game for a while, building up followers, trying to, you know, be cool, be popular, be the guy. And then pretty much ever since I've been settled down, I took a different thought process. That thought process was, you know, sure, I can probably make myself look better with a filter. And, you know, I got a couple scars on my face from different sports and a couple scars on my head from injuries and my nose is kind of crooked from breaking it. And my ring finger is, you can literally look at it in the screen, is almost like a Z. It's crooked. It's not, I mean, not very good. And it doesn't bend really. I mean, that's my ring finger, so whatever that is. Anyways.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, so
I notice it now, but like, holy cow.
Yeah, so that was an injury that literally kept repeating itself every day for the last 2 years of my football career. Just
Jeez.
the ligaments on both sides got loose.
Oof.
So every time, and as a linebacker, you push and you pull all the time. So every time that I would push or pull, it would pop out of place, it'd dislocate, it'd get over. So I just had to tape it up for the last 2 years, and now it's just like that. Anyway, so all these different things, man, and I don't know, you'll be able to look back and one day figure out kind of how you got here, why you are who you are. There's no filter that can hide that finger. There's no filter that can hide, the way you speak and the way you've progressed and, things you've learned and different words you use and mannerisms and the way you enunciate and the way you say certain words. If you mispronounce a word one time and you get corrected, do you keep mispronouncing it or do you start using the correct way to use the word? It's happened to me every year. It happens to me every month. I say something wrong and then someone finally calls me out on it, not in a mean way, but they just do. And then I just say it right the rest of the time. Anyway, so it'll be cool to look back one of these days and be able to see, who I was and who you were and all these different things and to keep this going. I think that might be the biggest takeaway from podcasting. And if you look at podcasting or YouTubing or whatever it might be, vlogging, I guess is something you call it, a journal, whatever. It's so small on the scale of social media that it hasn't even hit the boom yet. Like so many people are willing to create a Facebook profile because they can hide behind pictures, editing, photoshopping, whatever, or even not having one, or using a picture of someone that is not them, or a picture that is not recent, or the best picture of them. They get to rely on text, what they want to say, how they want to say it, how they want to edit it, how they can delete other people's comments if they don't agree with their way of thinking, how they can like certain people's stuff, how they can dislike all these different things. But people get uncomfortable, I'd say the majority, when it comes to video for some reason. Because when it comes to video, now it's not just using your voice, but people can see your expression, people can see your wrinkles, people can see dimples, people can see, whatever your flaws are, people can hear your accent, people are going to judge you, people are going to hear the way you say words, people are going to judge you. People are going to hear you stutter. They're going to judge you. People are going to hear you do the and they're going to judge you. People are going to hear you pause and maybe even forget what you were saying.
Yeah.
They're going to judge you. They're going to judge you in every way they possibly can. And then they're not going to do it themselves. And then one of these days, they're going to be 50 years old, 40 years old, whatever it is. And they're going to be looking back and be like, man, it'd be cool if I could go back to September 21st, 2020, and figure out what I was doing that day. If I don't journal it, I don't know. If I don't record it, I don't know. So how would you know? And then you just have your own false perception of what you think you were doing, how you think you were, how much money you think you had, what you thought you looked like, what you thought people thought of you, what you thought of yourself. But in reality, you have no clue. You got a false perception of your own reality. You've built your own world and you're just doing your own thing. You have no data to be able to analyze, to be able to go back in, to be able to put together a game plan to figure out what's your next move to get to where you want to go. But you know what? I think that's what this is.
Yeah, at the very least.
In a weird way. I mean, the other night I was just kind of going through our old stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is kind of cool, actually.
I've been slowly compiling a list of like best episodes of Chat with Gunner.
Yeah.
Because one, my sister Courtney, who's great, has been like, yeah, I would love to sit down and start listening to these to like get inside my head a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, because we still barely know each other, even though we talk every day.
Right.
But we're catching up on 23 years of no contact, not even knowing each other existed.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
the one
half sister.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I'll eventually probably be able to use this list that I'm compiling of all these greatest hits of Chat with Gunner to give to Noelle, my 9-year-old sister, who has no idea yet.
Right.
But no, I speaking on what you were just saying, like it's very interesting because I've invited multiple friends to come on this podcast, and Kavoth, the Australian friend that did the first chat with Ethan, or the second chat with Ethan with me, was super great. And he was talking, but he still has that privacy and the anonymity that the internet provides. But he still got to, that's a little snapshot of his life, of what he was thinking, where he was at in his life. And I'll tell, friends that I've mentioned to you, we don't necessarily agree on political stuff, but I still would love to sit down and just talk with them about literally anything.
Yeah.
They can match me on my love for Spider-Man or anything like that. And they continue to just be like, I don't know. I just don't want to put myself out there like that. And that's fine. I understand, because even with this, I'm not very comfortable with it, because at some point somebody's going to look back at these and be like, wow, Ethan had some dumb ideas when he was in his 20s, and that's fine. At this point, I've come to appreciate when I'm wrong, which isn't that often.
Man, there is a large amount of these type videos on YouTube, right? Podcasts that are filmed video.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we have the best setup here, or that we talk about the best topics, or that we provide the best insight, or that we have the best knowledge. Right?
We don't.
But there's a lot of other shows that are much more, I guess, highly respected. Maybe that's a word. I don't know. More popular, more subscribers, more views, more of a community around those types of shows. And they're not even a quarter of like the amount of production that is here. Like the way this looks and the way it comes out. And I mean, really everything that you've done with this show. I mean, there's some big time shows that are not even close.
No, but they're big time because it's just people talking. That's what people like to watch, and that's fine. And that's what we're trying to hopefully garner, is people that just like listen to our voices. But I had a good conversation. I'll name him Sam, one of my best friends. The man is a genius when it comes to just talking about the things that he knows. And we were talking about it because I was getting my car worked on again, and we were talking about it, and we were like, you know what sounds good now that we're adults? Something that I've come to understand, like I really would appreciate being able to do. It's literally just having 2 chairs in front of a fireplace, a bottle of whiskey, and some cigars, and just sit and talk to somebody for as long as you need, for as long as you want, about literally anything. And it reminded me of a picture, and maybe I'll put it in the video, of my ancestor, Niels Bohr, the man that worked on the Manhattan Project. And there's many pictures, and I find this so fascinating because he's this brilliant physicist. Came up with the Bohr model of the atom, which, come to find out, wasn't necessarily the most correct model, but it was a very big step at the time.
Sure.
There are pictures of Niels Bohr sitting down just on the porch with Albert Einstein. And the story goes that they would have hours-long conversations, not just about physics, but just about life, about everything. And they were basically pen pals. One was Danish, one was German. There was a kind of a language barrier, but they both knew English enough to communicate.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just one of those things that, like, being able to sit down with somebody for an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, like last week, and just talking, throwing out ideas, brainstorming with each other. I think that's what humanity needs, especially in this world, because we're so connected to each other, but we're not connected with each other,
Yeah, no, that makes
because we
sense.
text once or twice a week just to make sure the show's happening.
Yeah.
But we don't communicate very well on like oh, hey, what's happening? What, we don't talk every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And then we get in here and we sit down for an hour. We talk back and forth, no problem.
Yeah, you're onto something there. I mean, if you look at, and I know, he's always gonna bring the show back to this. If you look at like Joe Rogan,
Exactly.
listen, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan knows everything and that he's right on every view that he has and all that stuff. I'm a big fan. I like listening to his show and I'm, interested. But that man has had in-depth, detailed, specific conversations with some of the smartest, most intellectual, funniest, most achieved, talented people on our planet in this time at length.
If you could put, I think realistically, and this sounds so stupid, but if I could save anything, any one piece of media to give to anybody in the far-flung future, that they've left Earth and they're out in space, but they don't know what culture was like in Earth, I would literally just want to give them a hard drive of every single JRE that's ever been filmed. Just give it to them and just say, this man was not the leader of our people, but this man was the most prolific in having a conversation with everybody. And you could listen to all of those episodes and you'd probably get a very good idea of what humanity was like in 2022, 2021, as far back as he did it and till as long as he does it. There's so many people that you name a celebrity, they're more than likely have been on JRE, or they have their own issues that they don't want to be on podcasts, like The Rock.
But I think it comes down to this. If they haven't been on the Joe Rogan Experience, they just haven't been on the Joe Rogan Experience yet.
Yeah.
Like that's
I think eventually anybody and everybody will have been on it. Even people that like aren't anybody, like, no offense, but the guy you brought up, I think on the show last week, Bright Insights.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know who he was, and he's on JRE. Like, what? And now I've, come to binge the entirety of his channel because it's good.
It's great stuff.
And we'll I'm more than happy to shout that out.
Very well done.
But yeah, no, the JRE is just it's like the Library of Alexandria. And there's so many smart people that have been on it. And sure, you've got the episodes with Alex Jones that just goes off the rails. And there's literally nothing to have learned from some of those episodes. But then you have Elon Musk. You have Robert Downey Jr. being on it. That is probably one of my favorite episodes, is just listening to Robert Downey Jr. talk about his life and what he's doing.
He gave him like an hour and a half too, didn't he?
Yeah. And that's pretty big for an A-list celebrity who made, $1 billion playing one character for 10 years. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, you got to think he has hundreds. I mean, I guess at this point, thousands.
I'm pretty sure they're in the thousands
of hours. Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look at he's on episode, so he's got tens of thousands of hours.
Oh yeah.
Of interview footage, content of him learning. And if you look at Joe, like, he's ever evolving. Like, there's such thing, and I truly believe this. People will say that like traditional school is dying or whatever. I mean, I guess to a certain extent, I do believe school is good. I wish that I would have. I wish that I would have participated a little bit better in school.
Yeah.
Instead of memorizing something to pass a test that day, I wish that I would have studied to learn.
Absolutely.
More so than study to memorize to pass. But I mean, I feel like that's the only downfall with education, is that there's too much of a...
It's just memorization.
Yeah, there's too much on that.
Yeah.
Too much on testing.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was more like... And I know you need data, and listen, I'm very analytical, and I love data and numbers. And I know that, obviously, if you if you do something and you get 7 out of 10 of them correct, you have a decent understanding of it. And that if it's multiple choice, there's a small chance that you could have accidentally got 7 right. But if it's long form written, I also believe that a lot of testing is subjective. Now, looking back on it, knowing that the people that were professors and the people that were teachers were the same age as me now when I was in school, and I thought they were the authority. It's like, no, really, you probably stayed up too late watching TV, woke up with your alarm, hit snooze, was in a rush. Your kid didn't want to go to school. You forced them. You got them all up. Now you're all scrambled. You went to get coffee. You spilled it on your shirt. You took your shirt off, put another shirt on. Now you're in the car. Forgot your phone. Forgot you get, and you're just a fumbled mess. And you get to school, and it's like, on the board, do this quiz while I figure out my life over here at the computer for a little bit, and then I'll come back and ask you guys what you did.
It's you just kind of like unlocked a thought in my brain, because one of my favorite teachers was fresh out of a teaching school, fresh out of college.
Okay, so 24.
Yeah, fresh out of college, was not really sure if teaching was even what they wanted to do, and they got their, so they weren't a substitute; they were a teacher's aide for a year when I was a freshman, and then slowly but surely, after 2 years, my senior year, they were a full-fledged teacher.
Did an interview, got the job.
They got the job. They were a teacher for the school that they had, put their roots down in. And I didn't take their class, but I was there probably just about every day for lunch, just talking to them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird now realizing, oh man, I was their age in my freshman year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, they really made it in 3 years, because I can't even imagine how, like, being a teacher going in for an interview for the place that you were pretty happy about. You obviously were there for a teacher's aide, and then you get the interview, you get the job, and then you have to actually do the job.
Yeah, man. So
it's crazy.
I had that come to me. It was probably this past year that I was like, wow. I mean, I'm 30, so, and I know people, I'm 30, I'm a man. But I mean, in a way,
you're just starting, bro.
Yeah, but also, like, I know who I am, and I know that obviously 30-year-old me makes 15-year-old me look stupid. I've said it, 30-year-old me makes 26-year-old me look like an idiot, right? So a lot can change in a little amount of time. But I don't know, man. Just knowing that schooling is just memorizing a test to get to the next test, and you're smart if you memorize that test, but you're not smart if you didn't memorize it as well as the other person memorized it. Even though maybe, and I guess that, a lot of people would say, well, some people have street smarts and some people have book smarts. I think all book smarts really means, looking back at it now, is some people can memorize things and then forget it really quick and just pass the test. And then some people might not remember everything that they just read or were taught, but they get the general idea and can take some of the things that they need to learn out of that and apply it to something in life.
Yeah.
I think that's what street smarts is. Or doing something, it not going your way, and then knowing, probably shouldn't do that again if that comes up. Like, that's street smarts. That's just failure. I don't know, man. Like, I've been listening to a lot of, everybody knows my thing is like podcasting and YouTube videos and audiobooks and motivational content and inspiration. And, a lot of people don't like that type of stuff. But I mean, I know you're big into continuing to learn, whether that is video games or media or ways to produce things, or catching up on politics and understanding policies and laws and the Constitution and why things in the world happen. So you're always constantly learning. I'm bigger on the personal development, the nutrition, the health and the business aspect of some things, where I feel like if almost me and you could combine our interest, like that would then give you, like some of these big time entrepreneurial type YouTubers and things like that. It's just, and at times I can get into politics and learning, but and just an excuse that I really just don't want to, but it just doesn't grab my interest as much as some other things. But as I'm getting older, my interest is slowly fading on some of the topics that I've really enjoyed over the years, because I feel like, not that I know too much of it, but I know enough of it. Like I know more about a lot of things that I enjoy, that when I talk to someone, we no longer can have a conversation because I'm just telling them what I know.
That's how I am at this point, is like I know too much about literally everything. And sometimes, especially within the last 2 months of everything going on, people that are plugged in, that know what's going on, and then you have all these people that still have, opinions on stuff, but they're not as informed, but they want to keep up because it's an important time. I keep telling people, like, listen, if you literally, I posted multiple times on a lot of different social media. I was just like, if you want to understand what's going on in the world, let me know and I'll just break it down for you. I can break it down for you. All facts, no opinions. And if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But if not, that's fine. I don't want to, when I explain something to somebody, I'm always like, well, here's my opinion on this part, blah, 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 blah. Back to the facts. Here's what the facts are. Like I break stuff down super easy. I enjoy telling people stuff, explaining stuff to people, but then I realize, like, I'm just kind of like word vomiting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just explaining the thing like I've rehearsed it in my head a billion times, but I'm not actually like engaging with what I'm saying, which is a good thing if it's supposed to be factual. But then you like are trying to have a conversation about it and you're like, well, I told you all that, but here's my point of view. And then it's just like, it kind of muddies the water. And that's okay. Cause I mean, again, if I'm having a conversation with somebody and they want to learn something, sure, I can turn on that part of my brain. But when it comes to like just talking about something, it feels like, well, I have this opinion about something, but I have to go into like the 3 layers of backstory of why I think this and why you may not believe anything because you didn't hear about those 3 layers. And it's rough.
Hey man, everything is very basic at the end of the day. I truly do believe that. I think it was Bruce Lee that said it best. I fear not the man that has practiced 10,000 kicks.
No.
Is that not it?
I fear not the man that has practiced 1 kick 1,000 times, or 1,000 kicks at one time. It's okay. You had it right.
I was on paraphrase.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Ethan. It's okay. I fear not
Bruce
the man.
Lee. I have to have this factual.
I fear not the man that has practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man that has practiced 1 kick 10,000 times.
Yep.
Roughly. I mean, it might be 1,000, whatever it is. But end of the day is back to the basics. And when you talk to anybody, so I'm getting older, and as I reflect on different phases of my life, I feel that in everything that I've ever done, it's all been based around a strong foundation in the basics. For example, school.
Yeah.
You can't pass school unless you have a pretty good grasp on counting or the ABCs.
Yeah.
And then figuring out what order those letters go to make certain sounds and words to where you can communicate it. Yeah. And then how to add or subtract or multiply or divide or fraction a certain amount of numbers.
Yeah.
Those 2 things, numbers and letters. I mean,
that's all we really got.
I mean, if even think about this, if you can't speak, you're still good with numbers and letters.
Yeah.
If you can't hear, you're still going to be good with numbers and letters.
Mm-hmm.
Even with like if you can't see, numbers and letters, you're still good with that.
Actually,
right?
pretty more involved numbers and letters. 'Cause
Yeah.
You got to figure out how many dots there are.
So, we learned at the beginning that it really doesn't matter what you can do if you don't know numbers and letters.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And then, let's call it sports. Let's just break down football real quick. It really doesn't matter what happens in a game at all if you can't block or tackle. Basketball really doesn't matter what happens in the game if you can't dribble and shoot. And, at baseball, you can be the best person in the world, best athlete in the world. But at the end of the day, it's hand-eye coordination. If you can't hit the ball or throw a ball or catch a ball, you really can't play the game. So it all comes down to the basics. If you look at business, like put it in me, sales, business, if you can't communicate properly, that actually it's not even that. Let's go even slower. If you can't do what your mind says you should do, you fail for the most part. Like, I think the biggest thing in business, probably the biggest reason why people fail, and not even fail, failing's not bad. The reason why people never make it, I'll say that, never make it, is that not that they don't know what to do or what not to do. It's the do part. They just, for some reason, some people can think and be creative and know, but for some reason, they just can't do. And I think, that's in the basics of anything, of like life and businesses. Do. If you don't do, you can't get anything. Like, you just can't. Like, I don't know of anyone that has never done anything, never done anything and been something. Do we know anybody?
No.
I mean, they say 50% of anything is showing up?
Yeah.
The other 50% is doing it?
Yeah.
How many people just show up? A lot. A lot of people just don't even show up.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's where, as I've become an adult, like, I've been just showing up every day. Like, that's where I think I don't want to be in 2 years, in 3 years, in 10 years, is just showing up somewhere. I don't want to do something that I'm not passionate about. Because we've had the conversation, I could go into sales, I could do a lot of things. But does it bring any, other than, monetarily being successful, does it bring me any joy? Or am I just going to punch a card, do what I have to do, and then get out, and then go about my day every day for the rest of my life? I don't really want to do that. Not that I can't do it. Not that I wouldn't enjoy it. But it's just like, this alone, making all of this as I have, like, that's some of the best things that I think I've ever done. And it's one of those things where some people are just really good at sales, and they'll do it for the rest of their life because they like talking to people, and they like giving something to somebody and being able to provide a service for somebody. But for me, it's like, I want to entertain people. I want to make people happy. I want to make people smile. And sure, I can do that in a lot of different ways. Being a waiter, I was able to make people smile because I could bring a different air to being like, hey, you guys want food? I got food. I can give you food. I can crack jokes while you have the food. We can get to know each other. And then I leave with $50 in my pocket because they really, really like me. I could do that. I could help people buy a phone, and they can get the real phone that they really wanted, or they can get the phone that they really needed that's also just as good. And I make people happy. That's really, at this point in my life, I've realized I just want to make people happy. I just want to make people happy they met me. Leave the world a better place than I came into. And it's gonna be weird going to my 30s because I've got 6 years, but I feel like at this point, even the very little that I've done in my life, really, that I've done, I'm getting there. But I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. I've lost the plot.
No, it's okay, man. There's no plot here.
There is none.
One of these days, we're going to look back at episode 90 and we're going to say,
what the hell were we talking about?
What were they thinking about this week? Anyway, I mean, I don't know. I get on random brainstorming because, like, my job right now at work is to not necessarily do. My job is to figure out a way to get my team to want to do. That's what you ever hear like the boss mentality and then the leader mentality. The boss is going to be the guy that's, if he's sitting in the chariot, he's whipping the slaves. And then the leader is going to get out in front of the slaves and help them pull it.
Yeah.
I think that's a very drastic analogy.
Yeah.
Of that whole thing, because just because you're a leader doesn't mean you are leading by action. That's a way to do it. Not to say it's not. It is a way to do it. But you don't necessarily see football coaches putting pads on and doing Oklahoma drills with their star running back. But, there's ways to motivate, ways to get things out of people. And it all comes down to respect. I believe that it comes down to knowing what the person feels like that they're going through and what they have to do. Knowing those things because you had to do them. Knowing how you felt when you were doing it. Being understanding and being able to figure out a creative solution, personalized to each individual person that you are supposedly leading or in charge of. I think that's the biggest puzzle for leadership. And I think if you look at the great emperors, the great leaders, the great coaches, the great captains, any other type of a word, CEOs, bosses, owners, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, those guys have figured out a way to get their group together, their group on the same path, on a straight line, going towards the same goal. I think that's probably the hardest thing to do in a management type position. There's managing. Managing is not leading. Leading is completely separate than managing. Managing is analytical, I believe. You got to have something to measure. You got to have data. It has to be, obviously the best number to measure in order to figure out how to tweak it and to get the best results. You have to be consistent with the measuring, with the reporting. You got to be able to hold the people accountable to do those things. But managing is just that. They should really call the manager position, like, instead of being like, I'm a sales manager or I'm a operations manager, it should be leader. Like, I am a sales leader. I am a operations leader. I am a business leader. I think that's just a better word, because when you give someone that management title, I think I've seen it with myself. I think that comes across as not power hungry, because I've been in other leadership type roles to where it doesn't make me power hungry. But if you give certain people that role, it could make them power hungry.
Oh yeah.
I'm finally the boss. Now you do what I say.
Yeah.
Which
I feel like there's a disconnect between somebody that's a worker, somebody that's an employee, and management. But if you're a leader, that kind of puts you in the same bubble because you're still part of the bubble. You're just you're the top of the bubble.
you can be a leader without being a manager. So you can be a leader as an employee.
Absolutely.
And I believe in a perfect world, or in the best companies or the most successful companies, leaders, the cream rises to the top.
Absolutely.
Leaders just end up somehow getting there.
Yeah.
Even if a leader is not the best worker.
Yeah.
A leader somehow, listen, your boy is not the best worker. Okay. That's probably one of my handfuls of regrets is that like in school, it's not that I didn't try hard. It's just I figured the game out.
Yeah.
At a young age, I realized that I'm going to do the least amount possible to make the best grade possible and get up out here.
God, that was me.
And I was successful, very successful at that. But I did it with a fantastic attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Super respectful to my peers and also to my teachers. Looking everybody in the eye, shaking every teacher's hands. Probably to some people being a teacher's pet, but just playing the game.
Absolutely.
And made it through.
I think that's one of those things that kind of bothers me looking back at my schooling was, yeah, I was really good in school. Like I made all A's. I think I had 1 C ever. And that's because I really phoned it in. It was a computers class and it was literally just
out of all things
type. Like it wasn't typing. It was like make PowerPoint, make a spreadsheet, make this, make that. I'm just like, I can do all of this. I know how to do it all. I just didn't want to do it. I was super lazy at that year. But no, like I've really just kind of phoned it in by the end of my senior year. I'm just like, I literally can do all of this just fine. I can study the day of and make 100 on a quiz, on a test, on an exam.
Yeah.
I can do all of that. So why would I put in more effort to do anything else? And that has kind of bit me in the ass coming down the road because it's just like I can motivate myself to do stuff and I can do it very well. Or if I'm not motivated to do something, I can do it real quick. I can beat the deadline by a single day because I just do it all at once.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's just turn this into a therapy session.
Oh God, I need one.
So right there, you pretty much tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Pretty much anything that you put your mind to that you completely focus on, you feel like you can grasp pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's reading, understanding, putting it back into your own thoughts to where somebody else may be able to understand it a little bit clearer.
Oh yeah.
Or simpler.
Yeah.
And that could probably be any type of, subject. Yeah. For the most part.
It could literally be any subject. If I'm interested enough, I can make an hour-long video on it.
So saying that, if you're interested enough, can you make yourself interested in anything for a certain amount of time if you knew you had to?
Oh yeah. I made myself get interested in wrestling.
Okay.
Like
right.
that is the prime example that I've been able to just tell you and Sting. I've been like, listen, I did not care a single lick about wrestling before we started 60 Minute Broadway. And then it took me a while because I was still just like, I'm not the one talking. But then when it started becoming me and you, just me and you, I was like, okay, I gotta interact somehow. Otherwise, Gunner's not gonna have anything to go off of.
Yeah.
UFC. I did not care about UFC a lick other than, Conor McGregor is fighting. Oh, hey, I'll figure out who won tomorrow.
Yeah.
But then, like, what? We literally had a watch party of Logan Paul boxing.
Yeah.
Like, I can get into it. I'll definitely ask questions like that Logan Paul fight, because I was just like, I have no idea how the point system works.
Yeah.
But I need to know it to understand and watch it.
Right.
Watching football, I do not care about football, but if the game's on, I'll sit down and I'll watch it. I'll get invested. Basketball, man, I really, really didn't know I would like the Toronto Raptors, but watching them go against the Golden State Warriors, I was like, I kind of need to pay attention. That was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And yeah, it takes me longer to get into something that I do not care about. But if you want to have a conversation about something, just give me like a week's heads up. I'll get as much information as I can. I'll form my own opinion and I can have a conversation.
Okay. So with that being said, when something comes across you that is interesting to you,
yeah,
why do you click on that video, click on that article, click on that website, or just engage in whatever it is? Like, why do you think it is that you go to whatever it is you like?
It's you, for the most part. It depends on what kind of video it is. Depends on who's talking, because I really like movie reviews, but I like a very specific kind of movie review. It's not just two guys just sitting down talking about a video. It's, hey, what is this? What's the backstory of this movie? What details could you have missed in this movie? Or, like there's a good channel called Movies with Mikey that's he breaks down, especially the Edgar Wright movies, even though you didn't like them. There's so many bits and pieces of those movies that are so good, or the themes of those movies that are so good. I think what tends to grab me when it comes to something that I'm already interested in, or that I might be interested in, I give it a chance, and then, oh wow, it was really interested in that, is all dependent on kind of what it's related to, I guess, that I already like, because I love history, and I find something that's history related, I'll click on it. It could be a World War II documentary. I may not last the entire documentary, but I'll sit down and I'll listen to it. I think what's even more important for me to find an interest nowadays is, can I listen to it without paying attention so I can do other stuff? Because I'm a multitasker. I literally I have this on right now. I'm not looking at it, and I'm not even literally listening to it. I'm just like, every couple of seconds, I'll look down. Is there anything interesting going on? No, it's fine. Joe Rogan podcast, I'll put it on while I'm working in there, while I'm editing this video, or I'll put on. I literally love to have a video that I can just click, put in an earphone, do whatever I'm doing, play a video game, not watch something else, but do anything else. If I can do that, and it's connected to something I already am interested in, I'll click on that video. It all depends. Just like my music taste, it kind of just is all over the place.
So would you say it's fair to say that your interest are all in the same area, right?
Yeah.
That you've been interested kind of in the same things for the majority of your life, probably.
Probably, yeah.
But they come and go at certain times.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, like, you're probably kind of like me, where, say, it's December 2021, and I've been gung-ho in sales videos and entrepreneurship and business building and stuff like that for a good while now. But at a certain point, I will like reach not my capacity, but it will get a little stale, not to the point to where I don't want to not do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it, but it's just not as fiery as it was like when I didn't know everything. So I might get on a UFC kick for 3 months.
Exactly.
And then I'm still watching sales. I'm still watching business, but I'm gonna click a little UFC. Just gonna go up a little bit on the radar.
Yeah.
On the bar graph. And then you know what? 3 months goes by. WrestleMania season's coming up. I'm gonna jump into a little bit of wrestling.
Yeah.
But then might need to start gambling a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
it's
my body's slacking.
like that.
Something, you know.
I found myself, for an example, right now I'm playing this video game. I'm having a great time, but it's very build oriented. You have to have this specific piece of armor, and then this specific weapon, and then these trinkets, and they create a build. So for me right now, I've gotten a new character that I'm trying to work on to figure out and play, and I need to know what's optimal. So I put on videos that I can just listen to, because I don't necessarily need to look at it. They'll tell me what I need, and while I'm playing, I'll listen and be like, oh, I need to go do this to get that. That's where I'm at. So before I was playing that game, I was listening to Abbott and Preach, because they will do reaction videos on literally anything, but they have really good insight. But before that, because I've always kind of listened to Abbott and Preach, before I got back on my Abbott and Preach kick, I was watching, I don't even remember. It was probably, I don't know, election stuff. But it comes, yeah, I just about everything I kind of like, I'll click on a video at least once or twice a month. But what am I choosing to binge watch for the entirety of that month is always a new thing. Because it's just like, well, I'm not playing that game as much as probably within the next couple of weeks. I'm not playing that game as much. I'm playing another game like this, or I've got to be able to, graphic design something. I need to up my basics on graphic design. What are new tips and tricks that I did not know about when I was in high school learning graphic design? What's something that I can make that will make my life so much easier? And then I'll probably be binging with Babish again, because those cooking videos are superb, and it's like ASMR. And yeah, it all just depends. Really, like it sucks, because I'll watch again. My watch history on my phone is majority one thing, but then you have the sprinkle of, oh, here's this, oh, here's this, oh, here's this, and it's things that I've listened to and watched for years at this point, like Abbott and Preach or Crowder's show. I've gotten to a very good rhythm of wake up, I'll put on yesterday's Steven Crowder or last night's Tim Pool show while I'm getting ready. Get in my car, I'll listen to the 3 videos on YouTube from one person, and then 4 videos on BitChute from somebody else, because they can't upload it to YouTube. And then I'll get to work, and while I can still listen to something while I'm at work, because we're not open yet, I'll be listening to Steven Crowder's first hour, and then I go to work, so I'm not listening to anything. And it's just this rhythm of every day I've got these people that are putting out daily videos. I'll listen to those. Then I get off of work. What am I going to listen to? What am I going to listen to while I drive? What am I going to listen to when I get to the office? What am I going to listen to while I play this game? What am I going to listen to while I wait for Gunner to get here, or everyone else to get here for a podcast? What am I going to listen to after the podcast? It all just kind of depends. And I'll just open up my YouTube. I'll go to the homepage, and I'll just scroll up, let it refresh. And more than likely, that first video is probably going to be the video I'm going to watch later. Like it, and that feels shitty, because that means I'm kind of tied to the algorithm.
But the algorithm is you. That's how good it is.
And that's my thing. You watch YouTube I watch my phone more than anything else. I look at my phone just about as much as I look at my computer screen.
How do I get to
settings? And it's called screen time.
You know me all too well. That's how you know we've been doing this for a minute.
And I have mine turned off because of privacy reasons, but yours is probably on.
Mine should be on. I can't even get in my settings. I don't know why that's a thing.
But you've also got like your battery life. Like if I were look at my battery life.
Where'd I go? Screen time.
Screen time, yep. So listen to this. My battery life for the last day, because the last charge to 100% is what it connects to, was 11:05 a.m. today, because that's when I woke
I'm
up.
sorry, I wasn't listening. So what did you just say?
My battery life.
Okay.
So it shows you what app is using up the most battery life.
Mm-hmm.
It was at 11:05 a.m. today is when I unplugged my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been up for maybe, I'd say 20 or 30 minutes, just laying there listening to, again, the last night's Tim Pool show.
Yep.
My total activity since 11:05 a.m. today has been 71% YouTube, 10% Twitter. And the rest is like less than 10% altogether.
I'm trying to figure out. How do I see like what? I guess I do a lot of YouTube on my computer. So I work in front of a computer, obviously. Yeah. So I do a lot of my YouTube off a computer. But like today, my most used app was Messages. 1 hour and 27 minutes.
And it probably is connected. That's probably connected to your Mac at work, right?
Yeah, but I don't use it.
Okay.
I don't like using the messaging on my Mac.
Well,
I just don't like it popping up, ding, ding. I just don't. But
that is the thing about having Apple now. And if I were to have a Mac, it would be really nice because I could see like, oh, this is the entirety of my technology use over a day.
But number 2, and a strong 2, not even close to anything else, is YouTube. Yeah. And it's 52 minutes.
52 minutes?
But you got to think, that's my phone.
Yeah.
So I've been at work since 8 to 5. So, pretty much, like, how do I get to another day? I need to see another day.
Get this. And this is probably not 100% like screen time would be. But my battery percentage of using my battery or whatever, 6 hours and 20 minutes on screen time, which is probably not true.
That's today?
Just today, the same metrics. 4 hours and 20 minutes in the background. Total of 10 hours and 40 minutes since this morning. Which, to be fair, that is also because I have YouTube on in the background in my pocket, even though I'm not listening to it. So that it's kind of muddy.
Oh, did my phone just die?
Oh, no.
It 1,000,000,000% just did. How did that even happen? There's no way.
How much battery percentage did you have?
It's come back. It's come back on.
Okay.
There's no way this thing just died. Anyways, mine was 5 hours and 50 minutes. Of screen time today.
Of total screen time?
Mm-hmm.
See, 8 hours doesn't sound right to me because I was working all day and I was not on my phone.
So does that pull, like if you have an app running that it'll
calculate the percentage of the battery that it's using? Yes.
Okay, so maybe that's the thing.
But if I had screen time on, and you know what, I'll turn it on. We'll check back next week.
Let's continue my therapy.
Let's continue.
So, the old thing about, you are the average. A lot of people say you will make, money wise, you will make the average of the 5 people that you are with the most.
Yeah.
Right. It's a pretty good rule of thumb, I would think.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you're around, like your attitude, if you're around 5 positive people, most likely you're going to be positive. If you're around 5 negative people, most likely you'll be negative. If you're around 3 negative people, 2 positive people, you're probably going to be a little bit more negative than you are positive. Right? So it brings me to this question. I think we're in an age now where you don't physically have to be in the presence of these 5 people to become one of them.
Nope.
So with that being said, let's think back. We can do current time. Let's think back.
How is there a fly in here in December?
I think it was like a gnat. So let's think back over the course of a year is a really long time. So let's think
3 months.
Yeah, 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Quarter.
Okay. Who
are the 5 people that are in your ear the most?
Wow. That's hard because it would probably be a lot of those videos about that game. So it's a mixture of people, so it's not even really just that. Definitely Chris and Sting, because I'm just around them all the time when I'm here. Then Judy, my boss, one of my coworkers, and then Courtney, because I literally talk to her all the time.
But I guess I'm more thinking like what you're listening to.
What am I listening to?
Like when I say in your ear, like
okay.
I mean, I'm sure you're with Sting and Chris, but I guarantee you listen to things more than, even if you're with them,
sometimes I'll have the headphone in. Yes.
Yeah. So like, what is in your ear the most? Like whose voice are you hearing?
Over the past 90 days.
Yes.
Like, I can tell you number one.
What are the five? Let's just go five. If we can't get there, it's cool. Yeah. No specific order.
Yeah.
But the 5 voices that you hear the most, no matter what the topic is.
No matter what the topic is. The voices that I hear probably the most, I know number one is Tim Pool, just because he puts out a video every day, Monday through Friday, every day, and then at specific times where it gives me enough time to listen to the full one, keep doing whatever I'm doing. And then, oh, hey, it's 1:00. His new video just dropped.
Yeah.
Tim Pool is definitely always in my ear.
Okay.
Next would be Steven Crowder, because I can listen to the entirety of his 2-hour broadcast every day. Same thing. And then when you get to the weekends, Styx, he's this another kind of political YouTuber. He's the guy that posts 2 videos to YouTube, 3 videos sometimes on YouTube, and then 4 videos onto BitChute, because they're topics that can't be on YouTube. You know, content may not be suitable for YouTube.
How do you spell his name?
Styx. It's look up Styx, STYX, and then it would be Hexen, HEXEN, Hammer. He's also like a weird, like,
I gotcha.
He was like a Satanist at one point, and he left it. Okay. But no, he also has he has really good insights on a lot of things. He's libertarian, which is what I am at this point. After that, I would say top 5 people, those 3, and then Abba and Preach. And
who?
Abba, ABA, and Preach.
What is ABBA?
It's a duo on YouTube.
Gotcha.
But they do reaction videos on, you know, have you ever heard of Jubilee? They do like they have like 3 people from 2 diametrically opposed groups, like abortion and pro-choice and pro-life, and they'll have them like step forward and talk about why they believe the topic or whatever. They'll do reaction videos on that. They'll do reaction videos on like some of those shitty dating videos from like early YouTube that are still going for some reason.
Right.
Of just like, oh yeah, pickup game. And they're just like, pickup game doesn't work. You have to be a decent person. And a lot of people on these shows are not decent people.
Right.
But yeah, no, those 5 are definitely the people that I've listened to in the last 90 days, at least, the most.
So what is the common theme with those 5? So if you look at
real life.
So if you look at Tim Pool,
yeah,
he's 35 years old. Can you hear me?
You're good.
Okay. He's 35 years old. You know, he's got a few channels, a few shows.
What are you looking these up on? Just Wikipedia?
I just Googled his name.
No, fair enough.
You know, if he was to look at his about, he's an American citizen journalist, YouTuber, podcast host, political commentator, who first became known for live streaming the 2011 Occupy Wall Street protest with his beanie on, which he's continued to wear the entire time. I know him from, I guess, a little bit of his Vice stuff and coming on the Rogan podcast.
Yeah, he was on Rogan. He's been on 3 times.
Yeah.
His biggest thing on Rogan was sitting down with Jack Dorsey and their PR lawyer or something like that, talking about censorship.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can give you the through line for at least the top 3, and it's politics and it's news. And those 3 are the way I stay informed the most. And then whenever I hear a topic that, like, Tim Pool is really good because he literally has the article behind him. He's a small picture on the bottom left of the screen. It's not about him. It's not about his personality. It's about him talking about what's ever on the screen. And so if I ever hear something that I'm like, that doesn't sound too great, that doesn't sound too right, I think I believe something entirely different, I'll look it up. I'll Google search it while I'm still listening to him, and I'll form my own opinion based on what I find, what I thought before, and what I think now. Steven Crowder is kind of the same thing, but it's more comedic. It's more late night host of, he's going to crack jokes and he's not going to take it very seriously. Sticks is way more informative, and he'll talk about things, and he'll make a couple of jokes here and there, but he's definitely more like by the books. Like here's what's going on. Here's what I think of it. That's it. I would say an honorable mention used to be Philip DeFranco. And again, it's the same exact thing. It's news. It's every day I can watch the video of Philip DeFranco who give me the bite-sized pieces of whatever happened in the last 24 hours that everyone's talking about. But slowly it's phased out because it just isn't. It is. I don't want to talk ill about Philip DeFranco, but it's definitely not as unbiased as it used to be, which is fine. Everybody has their biases, and I've come to find like, if I listen to a Steven Crowder video about a specific thing, he'll tell me one thing, and if I go look at it, it's entirely different. Not entirely different, but he put a spin on it.
Sure.
Same thing with Tim Pool. If you're talking about politics, if you're talking about the Democrats, he's probably going to be saying, well, they're not doing very great. If he talks about the Republicans, he'll also say, well, they're doing shit. Because he's very, very in the center. He calls himself a milquetoast fence sitter.
Okay.
And then you got Abba and Preach, and they're Canadian. Abba is from Nigeria. I believe Preach is either from or has roots in Jamaica and Haiti. So they have, and they're both black, but they have a very different worldview than me. But it's close enough that I can find bridges about what they're talking about.
Sure.
And I've come to find that I agree with them more often than disagree. More often than even like Tim Pool or Steven Crowder. So I think the reasons I have all these people in my ear is because, one, they're talking about real topics. They're talking about real things, news, what's happening today, what's happened in the last week, what I need to know if I want to have a conversation about something. So it my YouTube watch history is the water wheel to feed the water that comes out of my mouth when I talk.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And when it comes to media and stuff, there's other people, but it's not all the time, right? Like Hawkeye's going on, but that's a once a week episode. And then I'll listen to the detailed breakdown of things you missed. And that's usually new rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have really good Marvel and DC videos.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll listen to somebody review it, and that's it. Used to be, it was kind of funny because they also did the same thing. They're very video games oriented, but they also did media reviews. They're the ones that I've told you about of how we need to do our media reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it kind of broke down for me because it was just like, they're talking about this thing. I'm seemingly not disagreeing. I'm disagreeing with them more than I'm agreeing with them. I don't necessarily need that. I should find somebody else. So that's when I found Tim Pool, and Steven Crowder, and all the rest. So I hate to see it. I hate to say it out loud, but I definitely have an echo chamber that I'm just kind of happy sitting in.
Well, everyone does.
And yeah, everyone does. But I want to be able to pride myself of being like, I break out of that. But there's a point where I listen and I sit and I hear people talking, and it's just like, okay, you're talking about something that I actually do know about, but you're not being honest about it. Why would I listen to you going forward? Because you're not being honest about it. If I were to able to find a progressive left person that talked about everything as objectively as the three I mentioned, or there's even the I just kind of realized, I forgot two people, so maybe Abba and Preach go to the wayside. It's there's a duo that do 6 to 7 hour long content on YouTube. It's the Stitch and Adam show, or Sitch. There were two YouTubers that used to do like, takedown videos of, President Obama said this, or this leftist said this, and it's very political.
Mm-hmm.
But it's two people that kind of were in the same realm, and they were just like, why don't we do a show every Sunday night, and we'll talk about whatever's new in the world.
Yeah.
They've done like Ben Shapiro videos, they've done debate videos, and it's very much like in its own sphere of like debate and politics.
Sure.
More so than Tim Pool. But yeah, I just kind of find that like, if I don't agree with you, I don't really listen to you.
Yeah.
Because sure, you may be saying something true, but you're adding all of this bullshit in that doesn't matter to what we're talking about. Whereas Tim Pool will also throw in bullshit and anecdotes and stuff that does not matter. But at least he's still talking about the subject in an objective way, and then tells you, hey, this is where my bias lies. I'm not going to preach to you, but this is what I think.
Yeah.
And I can at least like respect when somebody gives me their bias, when they're also being objective and being truthful.
Yep.
Whereas when you listen to somebody that's too deep on the other side, you're just like, you're coming at this with bad faith.
Right.
Whereas the people I feel like I listen to come at things with good faith.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, we're just going to tell you what's going on, and then we're going to spend 2 hours talking about it from our perspective. You may not agree with us, but oh well. This is our show. You're coming to listen to what we have to say.
Right.
So
that's interesting. So your top three would be Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, and probably the Sticks guy.
Yeah.
Which all three of those people are breaking down political news, American news, worldwide news, giving their opinion, which is all kind of similar in a way, on various forms of social media, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, other box.
Looking at my Twitter, because I've started to use it a lot more in the last since the Rittenhouse trial. Like, just the people that I follow on Twitter, because for a while I was like, I don't need to follow anybody that I'm not at least going to be like, okay, they have a good idea. Yeah. Like, I was following AOC because I was like, I just want to know what she's saying. But then I kept seeing AOC tweet, because she tweets more than she legislates. And I was just like,
kind of like Trump.
Yeah, kind of like Trump, actually. Which, hey, you know what? I unfollowed. Well, I didn't get to unfollow, but I would have probably unfollowed Trump. But at some point, he is pretty funny. But I probably would have unfollowed him, because I was just like, I don't need my Twitter feed to be inundated with this one person.
Sure. I
need to have if I'm going to use Twitter, I want to have these people, and these people, and they could all disagree on something, but at least they're talking about it.
Sure.
That's what they're talking about. That's what needs to be said. Like, for instance, Tim Pool just tweeted probably 4 hours ago. Smollett guilty on all
first
5 charges. That's important. I want to know that. I want to know, Zuby, who is a British rapper. He is hilarious on Twitter. And then you have Siraj Hashmi, who is the list guy. And then I follow people like Shoe on Head, who is very, not progressive, but she's a Bernie supporter, right? And there's other people like my friend Connor, who is very progressive in his politics. But I still follow him, and I look at who he likes and the tweets that he likes, because I want to know, like, what's he thinking? What's he talking about? What is he thinking that's good that he liked that will be shown to me?
Very quick sidebar before I forget this thought. And when you said Bernie Sanders, it hit me. So I heard today, now we might need to check into this a little bit, but I heard today that you know how Bernie Sanders is big on the raise minimum wage,
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Socialist stuff.
Well, I heard today that, he raised, like, in some places, minimum wage was raised to $15, right?
Uh-huh.
One of those places where he is.
Yeah.
He had to let people go because he didn't have enough money to pay his employees $15 minimum wage.
That's hilarious.
I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that's karma. And a little funny. Not that I don't like Bernie. It's just a little funny.
We don't want people to lose their jobs.
Yes, but
that's
full circle right there. Pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, I'll look into that.
Look into that because I'm not sure. And you know how I am with memes. Anyway, where I was going with that. So I'd say that the majority of the things that go into your head are, or at least talked about, negative things that are happening in the world.
Yes.
So the majority of your day, let's just call it, if your drive time to and from work, let's call it 20 minutes, 40 minutes, call it an hour, waking up and getting ready, let's call that another 30 minutes of stuff, downtime throughout the day, let's call it 2 hours. Let's just call it, on average, let's be conservative, 3 hours of
listening
to negative material.
Oh yeah.
And not propaganda, because you're not getting that part of it, but
I'm not listening and just believing.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not, even if it is propaganda, I'm listening to it and then going and finding something else out about it.
Yeah. So hearing something and then knowing that's probably not good, and then having to research multiple different opinions on both sides of the scopes of why it is good and why it's not good, and then probably coming to your own opinion that that's a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a lot of your day and your downtime and your consumption of hearing things, the voice, right? Which is going to give you your own ideas of like how you feel and your emotions and your attitude and your thoughts on things, and when people say things, how you're going to react about some things.
Yeah.
And that's just the past 90 days.
Yeah. Right?
So currently, after listening to 90 days of, and let's just call that, let's just call that roughly 300 hours of of problems and
issues.
This should have been done better, and they could do this better, and why did they say that, and why did this happen, and issues and negativities and problems. Not many solutions, because these guys don't have solutions. These guys have opinions about other people's actions.
Yeah.
That's media these days.
Oh, yeah.
Not many solutions.
Nope.
But a lot of opinions on other people's actions, right? So much of that. How do you feel?
Gonna be honest with you, Gunner. I feel terrible.
Yeah, like
because it literally is just the burden of being informed. I understood this going in, like as things were happening and as I was keeping up with it. We've talked about it before. We got burnt out on politics, especially the beginning of this year, especially after, January 6th, we were just like, oof, okay. Taking a step back, not going to think about that for a while. And now I'm back in it because we don't have an election this year. We'll have an election next year. So might as well start getting informed now, so I know what I'm talking about later. But it is very much the burden of being informed, because you see just today, Joe Biden is talking about not standing down entirely, but letting Russia take over the border
of
Ukraine. Not giving up Ukraine, but letting them get to the border and start setting up. The reason behind that, sure, is, well, we don't want an armed conflict. That's not what we want at any point with anybody. Doesn't matter who it is. So we're not going to face them. We're not going to be standing 200 miles away or 200 feet away and aiming our guns at each other. We're not going to do that. We're start talking, start trying to figure stuff out. But knowing that the armed conflict is mere days away at this point, it could happen at any point where we find out, oh, Congress has signed a bill to declare war on Russia, or China has finally done the big dick move of taking over Taiwan. We got to do something. And then you get to realize, oh wow, it's happening. We've been hearing about it for months. Now it's happening. Now we're in the worst timeline because people are gonna die, people are gonna get hurt. Nothing good is gonna come from this. Outside of geopolitical politics, oh man, Jesse Smollett is on trial. People are gonna get upset because they're not gonna get what they want. They're gonna be very upset because, oh man, Jesse Smollett was an asshole, did the wrong thing, tried to frame other people that don't even exist for what happened, so that everyone can jump on the bandwagon of, oh my gosh, these fake people that don't exist are part of this group that we don't like. They're terrible people.
Yeah, because Chicago is such a MAGA-loving,
Chicago is MAGA country.
Red city, racist, black-beating town.
I do love hearing like Jack Murphy and like Tim Pool talk about like this Jesse Smollett case, because yeah, that is the claim that two white people
with MAGA hats,
bleach,
and a
tied noose that's way too big for him, went up to Jesse Smollett while he was buying eggs at 3:00 in the morning in Chicago.
And said, "This is MAGA country.
This is MAGA country." Splash, put the rope around his neck, and then left without doing anything else. I think they say he got punched and has scars or whatever.
Yeah, and put the noose around his head.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything else. They're crazy enough to attack a B-list actor who happens to be gay,
that just happened to get a decent role.
On Empire, a majority, if not only, black show about music of hip hop and I think R&B. These white MAGA lovers know who you are and saw you and just happened to have bleach and a noose ready. Like, it's such a crazy story. So crazy it might just be true. Evidently not, because he was charged. But
yeah, isn't there video cam footage?
There isn't.
Like, there isn't. No, I thought there was CC footage of the day before him setting it up.
Around?
Yeah,
they were driving. Literally days before, the guys that come to find out were the actual attackers
that he had never seen before.
That he had seen it before.
I know, but he had never.
Well,
seen
he
it.
claimed to have never met the people that attacked him. Yes.
Yes.
The people that actually did proceed to do the acts that he was talking about. One of them had intimate relations with Jesse at one point. And they were smoking and driving around under the influence mere days, hours before the event, driving around the same location, scouting it out. Now, there would be CCTV footage, but it just so happened that a couple days before, the camera that would have been pointing directly at the location that this happened had to be changed and turned to face a different way. So, if you want to believe that Jesse Smollett planned to be caught on camera by this camera saying that, oh, hey, Jesse Smollett was attacked by two people wearing MAGA hats. It could have happened. We could have had that CCTV footage. But would it have mattered? I don't think so. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to what this whole point was I see all of this stuff and I see the lies. I see where the propaganda actually is. I see people telling me, hey, have you heard about Australia? And I get to look and I get to see it and I get to be like, one, I'm glad I don't live in Australia. But two, holy cow, it's happening in Australia. And it's the burden of knowledge. It's the burden of being informed. Because man, if that's not a black pill, I don't know what is. And that is the term for it. Being black pilled, being white pilled, red pilled, blue pilled. Red pilled means you weren't necessarily on the right, and you saw things that made you think, I am no longer a part of any other part of the left. I am definitely red pilled. I have taken the red pill. My eyes have been opened. And it's not even left and right. It's just like, oh, I'm realizing I'm out of the matrix.
Yeah.
Blue pilled is, oh, wow, the universe is scary. I'm just going to shelter in place and not think about anything for myself. I'm going to just trust everything. That's what being blue pilled is. Being white pilled is, man, I just saw something that really gave me hope for my future and the future of everybody. You know, seeing people help other people. It's like, I will say this. This is going to be a really weird analogy because this is all before the terminology. For me, thinking back, 9/11, it's a black pill because it just makes you feel terrible. But seeing America come together after 9/11, especially New York City, that's a white pill. COVID is a real big black pill. Because it's just like, wow, some people are just listening to whoever's talking. They're not really listening to science. And it is...
Well, yeah, they're listening to...
the science they like.
The science they're told to listen to.
Exactly. And so, yeah, at this point, I in my life, I have come to the realization that I have been black-pilled. I do not have too much hope for humanity because we are a bunch of dumbasses. And nobody's doing anything correct. That's I think the biggest takeaway from listening for the past 3 years is nobody has good ideas. Everyone just has their ideas.
It's good.
I just because you see, I mean, there are people that have good ideas, sure, but they're still just their ideas until they're put into practice. And the rest of everybody doesn't think that that's a good idea, so they don't do it.
Okay, so let's continue.
Oh yeah, the therapy, right?
Yeah. So, who, as far as what you want to be, what you wish you were, what you want others to perceive you as, who are the 3 people that you, I don't want to say wish you were, but
if I could emulate in my life?
Yes. If you had 3 mentors of anyone,
okay,
who would those 3 mentors be?
I'm going to put Tim Pool in there, even though we've been talking about it for fucking hours.
That's fine.
It feels like. But Tim Pool is a journalist. He cut his teeth on, as you said, Occupy Wall Street. He was just there. He happened to be live streaming it, so everyone could see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I say Tim Pool now as a mentor because he has his biases, but he brings the facts. He knows what he's talking about. And he explains it to people so that people can understand. I think what I take away from that is I would like to be at a point in my life, if I could keep my anonymity, that'd be awesome. I want to be in a point in my life where I can give people information so that they can be as informed as I am right now. Just, be the tree that of what the seed has been planted, keep on keeping on. Fight the good fight, The next person, D-Rock, Gary V's personal photographer and videographer. That he's my number one, because if I can just find somebody that's going to make a lot of money, that will give me a lot of money just to document their life, I'll do it. I can edit videos real quick on a laptop, post them to his social media, easy. Take photos that are going to be used hundreds of times to have a quote next to them, just picking apart these things and being immersed into what I like to do, which is taking videos, taking photos, editing them, posting them, putting them out to the world. I think the third one is the hardest though, because I don't really know. Like even Tim Pool is kind of an iffy one. D-Rock is definitely on that list because I follow D-Rock on literally everything just to keep up. But the third one is hard to even nail down because there's different aspects of different things that I would like to do, but I don't really have it locked in yet. There's nobody I really follow else, I don't think, that I'm like, wow, I want to be doing that in my own way someday. I don't really know that there is one.
Interesting.
Sure, I mean there's streamers that's like they're not even making the millions that we found out everyone was making.
Yeah.
But they're like making a decent income just by playing video games and having a community. There's Matthew Mercer, who has made a living telling stories via D&D with his friends over the internet and has now made an empire out of it, basically. They sell merch. They have a TV show coming out. They have a book series. They have a comic book series. Like, cool. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima, he's making video games. He got screwed over by Konami at one point, but he's made beloved games by people that just really, really love them just because he made them. A lot of people didn't like Death Stranding because it was basically a walking simulator, but they played it and they loved it because Hideo Kojima made it, and he has that little bit of flair that keeps bringing people back. Edgar Wright, and the guys that work on Star Wars, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they make these amazing movies. Edgar Wright making very detail-oriented movies, but then you have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who made The Mandalorian, who have made this amazing piece of media out of something beloved by everyone that was in the gutter beforehand. Then they raised it back up via Dave Filoni did the Clone Wars series, he did Rebels, and then he worked on Mandalorian with Jon Favreau, and they've made this just amazing piece of media that even people that don't like Star Wars really, really liked. There's a list of people I can name, but I don't think that I could do all of it. So I can't really nail anybody down yet because it's just like, do I want to go make video games? I would have to start now to learn how to do it, but I can start learning how to make video games. I can make a movie. I can make short films in this space. I've got plenty of different looks in this one space to make I can tell you this. Next year by Halloween, I want to have made a short film that is literally the most terrifying horror film, or horror short film, I should say, not the horror film. But I just want to make a short film that will terrify literally everyone I show it to. I could probably do it pretty easy because I spent way too many sleepless nights in this place and been creeped out by literally everything. I've got ideas for it.
So am I in the movie?
No.
Why?
Because you just wouldn't be a good lead.
I don't have to be a lead.
You're not going to be a good axe murderer either.
Why not?
Because you don't look like it. You look like the lead for about 10 minutes, and then you get killed because you were the jock.
We can figure it out.
But no, like I actually would love to tell you this idea because I want to get your opinion on it. But yeah, no, there's outside of the two things that I think I would enjoy doing, being a journalist, informing people. Because I mean, shit, I was at the the singular Chattanooga protest last year, the BLM protest here, and it was crazy. It was I remember being there for about 3 hours and realizing my heart has not calmed down from about 128 beats per minute since I got out of my car. Because the moment I got in my car, I didn't know it, but I heard 2 loud explosions, and it was because it was the 2 gas canisters that had been
Remember
thrown.
you tell me you found them or found one.
I found
of 'em.
one.
Yeah.
And I have a piece of it. But that kind of leans into it. Of I was there. That it may not be historical to the world,
Yeah.
but anybody in Chattanooga that was alive and cognizant during 2020 knows that holy shit, there was a BLM protest in Chattanooga and nobody really got hurt. Some people got arrested because they were getting a little rowdy and they did things that were illegal, but there was at least I'd say 200 people, 300 people there, and the majority of them walked away having their voices heard and maybe not coming to an understanding because the police weren't able to communicate with them. They were just trying to keep them in a place where they weren't going to hurt anybody or destroy anything. And even then, the only property damage I think that came of it was the lamp at the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it was one person that happened to be climbing on the wrong thing and it broke. But being there and taking pictures, and I still haven't edited the pictures because I as I got home from that and sat down and went to look at those pictures, I got a lot of good shots.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really good. But I didn't want to post them too early because I was just like, well, who am I? I'm just a guy. And then I edited a few of them, and then days and months, weeks going by, and I was just like, I mean, I could post them, but what does that necessarily say about me? Who are people going to like them? Like I started giving myself that critique mindset, but I think what's going to happen is probably in the next couple of weeks I'm going to finish editing them because I've got a backlog of photos that I've taken here, out there, all around that I just haven't sat down and edited because I've been in a I'd say a funk for the last 2 years of just taking pictures and not really putting effort into them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably going to sit down and like edit through all of these pictures. I'll probably have the entirety of 2022 scheduled out for posting on Instagram. That's how many pictures I have. It's crazy. But being a journalist, being on the ground, although it was, looking back, very dangerous. If anything happened, I was screwed. If anything had gone south, if people started to actually riot, if people were throwing things, if guns were discharged, I could have been hurt seriously. But I don't regret being there because it was, again, historical.
Yeah.
It was informative. It was my first ever protest, let alone being there taking pictures. If I were to do another one, I would know what to do.
Right.
Know where to be. Because when I tell you I basically ran backwards the entirety of the walking bridge downtown, I did. Because I had to stay in front of the crowd. And again, I've got a lot of good pictures. I hate that I haven't edited them yet. But having that experience and knowing what I'm doing now, not that I'm going to go to a random protest that I have no interest in.
Sure.
But I feel like I've got enough of a good head on my shoulders that hopefully I don't get hurt, but I could be a civilian journalist. Take a picture of something. Be where history is being made, even if it's a small town history.
Like a freelance, like be a journalist in an area that the mainstream media is not going to be at.
Chattanooga. Yeah. Because, I mean, we have our news organizations. We have, Channel 9, Channel 3, Channel 12. But they literally, for something like that, I remember looking at it, and I was following somebody on Twitter that day, and she was one of their actual reporters, and she was like, if anybody has anything, contact me in the DMs, show me what you've got with a watermark, and we'll talk about what we can do with your video, your photos, your everything, and we can talk about being on TV.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of those things where I got so many good ones. If I'd gotten here earlier and then sat down and started editing them to a point where I felt like, okay, good, I can give this to somebody to look at, I probably could have made us a little bit of money. But it's one of those things where that is a job people do. They literally just go on the ground because news organizations may not be in Waukesha, may not be in Kenosha, may not be in St. Louis, during these major riots and protests, and they use people like me that just have the right amount of crazy in their brain to say, yeah, you know what, I'll go downtown to a protest.
Yeah.
And that kind of leans in, I guess, to the D-Rock mentorship of just like seeing somebody take pictures for a living and have made a net worth of already $1 million within the last 2 to 3 to 4 years that Gary Vee has kind of skyrocketed into. He gave, I think, D-Rock a solid. D-Rock is at least worth $1 million just by working with one person and being their right-hand man for all intents and purposes. Now that's kind of out of my control because I don't know anybody worth more than a couple $100,000 maybe. But being everyone's right-hand man at this point, yours, Chris's, Sting's, literally you guys text me and I'll be like, okay, got it. By the end of the day, I'll have it done.
Yeah, no, there's something to that. There's definitely something for that, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's just the right amount of can do it attitude, I guess.
Well, not everybody is if you was to put people in categories, like a one being a president, CEO, leader, the one in charge, whatever. Like Joe Biden would be referred to as a 1. The majority of his career, he's been a 2, if not a 3.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at a lot of people's ideas on Biden prior to running for president, this past time when he became the most popular president of all time, the other times he's ran for president, didn't do well.
Yeah.
Because people knew that even though when he was still together and had his mind, he's all right. He's been around.
Yeah.
40-something years in it. He knows what he's doing. He knows the game. He's just not a 1. He's not the one. He's not the guy. Where Trump,
I was always the one.
He has always been a 1.
I could tell you this right now, Gunner.
Yeah.
I have always been 1, and you can tell me that I was a 2, and I'll tell you you're wrong.
He's a strong 1.
Very strong, huge.
Strong 1. So just because you're not a 1 doesn't mean you can't be extremely successful.
No.
Very respected.
Absolutely.
And damn good at what you do. I mean, and just because being a 1 or wanting to be a 1 or a face doesn't mean that you're not as good as a 1. It's just a different role in entirety. I don't know, man. Here's my challenge to you, just after talking and doing everything.
Again, dude, I'm telling you, I've just got this itch of buying 2 really high-backed chairs, buying a mini fireplace in my future home that I do not own yet, and just having a bottle of whiskey, 2 cigars, sitting down with somebody for as long as we can.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. It sounds so interesting.
No, that's how life was created.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Again, that's one of those things that sounds so old-timey, but sitting down and talking to somebody for an hour and 44 minutes, it's more therapy than I've ever looked for.
Sure. I guess I would say, not that I know anything, my challenge to you would be, if you like Tim Pool and you like D-Rock, find more room for D-Rock in your ear somehow.
It's hard to do because he doesn't do a lot of talking.
So
it's all Gary Vee.
So no one has interviewed him on what it's like being with Gary Vee?
I'm sure they have.
Why have you not researched these things?
I just haven't.
So, like, for me, I think it would be, for you, extremely interesting to see, like, who he is, why he follows Gary Vee around, how, and just his thoughts on Gary Vee, his thoughts on his way of capturing moments and stuff like that. But
What's funny is, although there is Gary Vee, there is also Jamie, who is basically a second D-Rock. Jamie's literally worked with Joe Rogan how long? Doing the podcast
ever since Red Band quit.
How long?
I mean, 2014.
Yeah, and he's got job security. I would say, I would hope so. At this point,
he's the GOAT producer.
The GOAT producer. So I guess, you know what? I guess that's the third. Not that I know too much about Jamie, other than he can pull up the video.
So yeah, you'd have to figure out a way to. I'm sure somebody out there has done it, because all these Rogan fans. Somebody has a video out there that is a compilation of all the comments that young Jamie has said.
Yeah, probably.
Or these days, old Jamie.
Old Jamie.
And I'm sure he's probably done a podcast here or there, if I just had to guess, unless Joe's like,
so.
Don't do that.
Well, no, I wouldn't say Joe has said, no, don't do that. I would think it's kind of like, oh, I've got to be at the studio to do our podcast. So I can't really go across country to go do a podcast and come back.
I do know that he's big on Twitch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think he plays like Call of Duty and talks on there and stuff. So, and he's a big golfer.
Makes sense.
I don't really follow him that much, but I do follow him enough to know he's a big golfer. Anyways, and he's pretty well informed when he talks. When he does speak, he doesn't speak like an idiot. Like he looks like a pothead, which he probably is. I know he is. But
if he's around Joe Rogan, he's at least a pothead by proximity.
Yeah, and I guess what confuses me about him being around Rogan, and maybe even Rogan, like Rogan's so healthy and so health conscious and like ever evolving and looking for the next level thing, that Jamie's just not. And that's a little
maybe that's what's wrong with me, Gunner. You're too healthy.
No. So I would challenge you to maybe for the next 90 days,
Jesus,
spend your 300 hours not on what Tim Pool's talking about, but why Tim Pool talks about what he talks about. Like an interview about Tim Pool, not Tim Pool's show. Like Tim Pool on another podcast, not Tim Pool's show. And then the D-Rock guy and young Jamie. I think that would be interesting.
Man, this was nice therapy. Thank you, Gunner.
Because with me, I can tell you, I go through many of phases, like I've said, in the roller coaster of categories that I like to rabbit hole. But if you had to look at my last 90 days, I would say number 1 is Grant Cardone. Number 2 is Patrick Bet-David. And number 3 is Donald Trump. And here's why. So number 1 is Grant Cardone, because at 12 Point, we purchased Cardone University, which is the sales training program, which is done through Lightspeed, which is a program that you can go on, upload videos, take tests, a very large library of content. So everything that Grant has ever put out, every book, every video, every lesson plan, anything that he's ever put out is on that for the thing that we purchased. And what I have my team do at work is we do 6 videos every morning before we start work that they're between 5 and 15 minutes. And as soon as the video's over, there is a 2 to 5 question test that you have to answer each question correct before you can go to the next one. And there's a reporting software that I get letting me know everybody's grades and what they failed and all this stuff. But so we do 6 of those every morning. So there's a minimum of 18 to 30 minutes of Grant Cardone every morning. Not on top of the other stuff that I just happen to see through social media or whatever, or if I do more. And then he's in sales, business development. Then you got Patrick Bet-David. You know who that is? So Patrick Bet-David is the #1 channel on YouTube for entrepreneurs. It's called Valuetainment. And he's out of the same area, Fort Lauderdale. He does great interviews with high-level mafia guys. And I'm very intrigued by the mafia and the way the mafia conducts business. And I think it's very similar to the way the government conducts business and very similar to the way your top corporations conduct business. But he put together the only interview in history that is 2 living made men in the mafia sitting down from 2 separate families having a debate and on topics for like 4 days. And he's putting it out soon. It's going to be called the Mafia States of America. And it's Michael Franzese and Sammy the Bull. So that been a lot of his stuff. A lot of his stuff is business tips and sales. So a lot of that minded. And then Donald Trump, I'm fascinated with him just because he went away. He was banned on social medias for the most part. That interests me, which makes me think that he knows something that the elites don't really want you to know, or he has a message that they don't want you to be a part of. So with Trump, I'm not very interested in President Trump. I'm more interested in 30-year-old Trump. So I've done a lot of listening to, 1980s interviews with Donald Trump as he was navigating his career, trying to do the come up, hitting his extreme highs in the late 80s and bankrupting in the early 90s and then building himself back up. So with all 3 of those guys, I've read, let's call it 3 months ago, I probably knocked out 4 to 5 Grant Cardone books. Within that time, I've read Patrick Bet-David's Your Next 5 Moves. And then since that time, I've read every single book that Donald Trump has written. So that's what I've had in my head. So my brain's been a lot of how to be successful, how to sell, how to build a business, how to be a leader, how to do those things. But you can always come back to something negative. So like what I've came to when you're listening to all these guys speak, you try to learn from their experiences and put it into your own life and then try to come up with analogies to figure out how to put what worked for them into what you do. How do you compare that and then put it into action? So with me, a lot of these guys talk about their failures in the beginning of their businesses and, what went wrong and stuff. And then I look at our business and see attitudes and people and systems, lack thereof, structure, etc. And it's hard for me not to see the negatives of what we do as a company, which leads me to say, it doesn't matter if you're sitting there listening to American news broadcasting all day, hearing negative things about what's happening in the world, or you're analyzing how to get better. Anything can turn to negative. It's just a matter of where your energy goes. So, biggest thing I take away from all this, there's always going to be a problem. Spend less time on the problem, more time on the solution. A little less time thinking, a little more time doing. And everything should work out the way you want to do it. So my challenge to myself is to figure out balance. And I know we're in the next few weeks, we'll do because we're getting close to the end of the year, we'll do another goal type show. Maybe like that last show of December, first show of January, whatever. So it'd be like December 29th.
I think so. Yeah.
I think is the 30th or the Thursday. So maybe we shoot for that. And then that first Thursday of January, we'll get T on.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Lord.
Yeah. So
wait, is that going to be 100?
I don't know, but we're just going to do it.
Okay.
I want to do the first show of 2022 with her.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then, but that last show of December, I think it's kind of figure out a little bit of a game plan. I can tell you right now, I'm telling my future self this 20 years from now about who I am right now. You know, I've been a guy that has went through these ebbs and flows in different categories. I've probably watched more videos on different types of workouts, diets, and things to get just a tad bit better. Like just to lift a little bit more, to get a bigger muscle here, to get leaner here, to feel stronger this way, to whatever, those types of things, nutrition, body, mind, that type of stuff. If I had to bar chart, graph, pie chart, this whole thing, that's a significant chunk of my life. You know, the majority of probably high school, college, and the majority of my 20s. And then I would say number 2 is probably following sports and stats, the analytics of sports, certain players in sports, and entertainment, movies, shows, throw politics into that a little bit because I think that's all entertainment anyways. That's probably number 2. And then as I've gotten older, it's been a little bit more personal development business. So things that I don't study, but that I hold important to myself is studying relationship, studying family, spirituality, and I've done more money in the past couple years, but not money, understanding the loopholes of wealthy. So that's things that I'm not very familiar with. Like if we got into a religious debate, I don't have other than my stance and my opinion, I'm uninformed. If we wanted to talk about like how to be wealthy, other than what I want to be and my opinion, I'm uninformed. If you're looking at how I think you should lose 15 pounds, I'm pretty informed. If you're looking at who is fighting this weekend, I'm pretty informed. If you're looking at what shows are coming out, I'm pretty informed. If you're looking at top athletes of all time, I'm pretty informed. Top teams, I'm pretty informed. Top corporations, pretty uninformed. Top business guys, pretty uninformed. Top sales guys, I'm pretty uninformed. In the grand scheme of my pie chart of my life, I've just started doing those things. So I would say 2022 for me, I've put together my 1-page business plan, which is my plan for 2022. But I'm going to title this year, I believe, the year of balance. I've went through years where I've focused primarily on my body. I've went through years where I've focused primarily on my diet. I went through years where I focused primarily on my sports, on my relationship, on reading, on writing, on journaling, on personal development, on money, on goals. I've been good at these things in each individual years or seasons. 2022 is the year of balance, Ethan. That's my goal. How do I balance everything to be the best version of myself, but not overly consumed in one area more so than another? That's where I find my biggest challenge right now. So when I'm looking back at this in a year, hopefully I say, hey, you figured that part out. But if not, it's cool. And then if I had to throw a number 4 and 5 in there, it would be Joe Rogan and The Rock. So, and if I had to look at people that I want to be studying more of, I would say I should probably, The Rock needs to climb back up there. Not because I've just done so much on The Rock. I feel like I don't have to as much anymore. The Rock needs to climb back up there because his dedication to what he does is second to none. Does everything the right way. And he looks the way you want to look also. So that's something to be motivated by. Grant Cardone's going to stay up there just because that is the environment that we're creating at work. And I like Patrick Bet-David right now on the things that he's doing. But I think one that I'd really like to kind of get into their head and to understand and to know how they run things is Dana White. Dana White. I don't know. There's so I gotta sit down and figure it out. My goal is I want to have a picture made, Ethan, a portrait one day, and I want it to be the people that I feel like that I've taken the most away from in life, of like people I've never met, and I want a portrait to be of me sitting around a table or conversing with all these people, and it's a picture of me, but also like a picture of The Rock, like a picture of Tim Tebow, a picture of the Ultimate Warrior, a picture of Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, like all these guys I've ever wanted to like sit down and talk to, Rogan, all this stuff. And it's like my wall of mentors or whatever. But anyways, main mentors, at the end of the day, people that get you where you want to go is your family and your parents. So without them, there really ain't a mentor. So, all right, Ethan, that's all I got, man. What, we do another 2 hours?
Yeah, we did another 2 hours on a show we didn't know what we were talking about. We really need to stop doing this.
You know, it was crazy, man. I mean, just imagine if 2 people that, you know, that haven't done a podcast before. Imagine having them walk into a studio, turn that camera on right there, and saying, hey,
you
go.
should fill 2 hours.
Can you do 2 hours? I mean, I honestly think, and this is not to say that other people can't, but I guarantee you, me and you could keep a conversation going that wasn't like dull. Like keep each other's attention, have conversation, listening and understanding, right? Like not just, all right, and then what'd you say? And like actually like maybe sometimes, but like for the most part, we could probably go 5-6 hours? I
think, and I mean this entirely, we could probably do a 12-hour talk on just about it would literally have to be like, it might have to be like 2 or 3 weeks behind of not talking to each other, but I can legitimately see myself sitting down in front of a camera for 12, 24 hours. Honestly, all you'd have to have, I mean, out of this whole time today, we've talked about roughly 3 different things. Yeah. So, I mean, if you had a list of, let's call it, if you had a list of 24 things that you need that we knew about. Yeah. I think that could be as long as it needed to be. Oh, absolutely. Like, and that's the thing, like talking about with Sam, like we were talking about it that day, and I was just like, you know what? Maybe we need like a bi-weekly, just like sit down, hang out. Like we don't have to go anywhere to hang out. We can just sit down, talk, get things off of our chest that we need to get off our chest. Maybe talk about life, what we're thinking, talk about things that we probably don't know enough about, but we have ideas about. It's one of those things where just conversing with people is the point. I'll say it's not about like, I don't think either of us really gained any knowledge out of this because we talked about things we already knew about, but it's the insight, it's the talking it out, the putting words out and being able to talk and converse and bounce things back and forth is what really matters. And that's the whole point of this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like I've always said, like this thing can be whatever it's going to be. At the end of the day, I get to come in here once a week and hang out with you. I guarantee you, I've talked to you in entirety, like a volume amount.
Yeah.
More than I've talked to anyone in the past year.
Yeah, probably.
And I mean, it'd be hard for me to say that you probably have done the same with somebody else. Be close.
No, absolutely not.
If you add 2 years in, it's 100% nobody else.
Oh, yeah. Over the past 2 years, we've definitely talked to each other more than anybody else in our lives.
And I live with 2 humans.
I work with people that I would like to think that I talk to every day more, but I really don't.
Well, I mean, there's a difference in going to work and saying, hey, what's up, man? How was your weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really cool. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to do this over here. Cool. Hey, did you see that game the other day? Yeah, it was really sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, what about this?
Finding topics.
That's cool.
Rather than talking to people.
Yeah. But a conversation, like 52 1 hour plus conversations, roughly, if you had to average it out.
If you average it out, we have talked a total of 52 hours with each other. And obviously we've had guests some of those weeks, but we still talk afterwards, talk before. If we don't talk, we make it up for it in the 2 hour long podcast that we do. That is just us two.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely at least an average of 52 hours.
Now I talk at other people a lot. Like I feel like I talk at Tia. Like
I do too.
And she talks to me, but I talk at her a lot.
Me too.
Like, hey, yeah. And I feel like that's what she heard. Yeah. And she like just smiles and I'm done talking. She's like, okay, that's enough of that guy. She's more of a texter for sure.
Oh yeah. And I text people all the time. Again, I've texted Courtney, just like checking in.
Yeah.
Like figuring out how she is. And Sam and Maddie and all of my friends, I'll text them, but it's never like, hey, talk, conversation all day. It's been a while since I've had a text conversation that was literally like from the moment I woke up, I thought of something I needed to talk about. We started talking about it, and then we just kept bouncing back and forth, moving the conversation forward.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the difference in being in person and being on a phone. 100%. When you're in person, you can kind of feel when that person's done, or you can help them out when you feel like maybe they need a little help thinking about what they're about to think about. Where when you're texting, man, it's like, okay, you say this. Okay, now let me turn. Nope, don't send another one before I say what I want to say,
And that's the hard part about texting, because I'll have thoughts and I'll put them into the books, the miniature pamphlets that they are, of like this big long because I'm that texter. I don't text like sentence.
Yeah.
I'll text paragraph, and then if there's more, I'll usually say like text 1 of 3 or text 1 of 2, or something like that, kind of like a tweet.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like tweeting. You're sending out just a blank or a bunch of letters to somebody else for them to see at their own convenience. But when you're talking to somebody, these words are only there for this long.
Yeah.
So even if I look down at my phone and I'm looking at my phone, I'm actually not really even looking at my phone. I'm still listening.
Right.
I'm actually more engaged listening to what you're saying than what I'm doing, because I literally looked up 3 things while you were talking, and I don't even remember what I learned from looking them up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's
That's the power of podcasting.
Well, it's just the power of everything coming after your attention. You have so many things trying to distract you. Like that's really the battle that I think everyone's having to go through right now, and some people handle it better than others by just getting in echo chambers, or just by tuning out and going on autopilot. And then I think you have those certain people, man, that find a little stride, and you can zone in for 90 days on a certain topic and really just learn as much as possible. And it's just but you can't just learn it. You got to learn it, and then you got to do it. Like you can go to as many self-help seminars as you want to, and you can learn the secrets to success and how to get rich quick and how to be a leader and how to blah, blah, blah this and how to make pictures and how to produce podcasts. But if you don't do it, you're never going to do it.
Nope.
So anyways, all right. Well, I'm out of here. I got to wrestle tomorrow.
Gotta get out.
Southern Honor.
Oh, God.
Yeah, man. Got to wrestle tomorrow, so that's going to be fun. Wrestling Judas. Backstory on that, 2016 Sink City Invitational, me and Judas wrestled. Everybody says that was like my worst match ever. I mean, it wasn't a great match, but come on, it wasn't the worst match ever. So we haven't had a singles match since that match. I'm excited to have that match again. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
He's one of my buddies that is in wrestling. One of the guys one of the good guys. And other than that, that's all I got, man.
I can't think of anything that's really going to happen in the next 7 days.
I do want to go watch the House of Gucci, or the House of Gucci.
Do that. We're going to do that. I'm going to try and do that this weekend.
Because I've stayed away from reviews. I've stayed away from all of it.
What are you doing Saturday?
Well,
after wrestling.
Saturday I've got
We'll talk about it.
No, I got something. I got to go to a graduation party for one of my niece's friends Saturday.
Oh, I'm going to one too, so it's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll see at some point.
Now, Sunday.
We'll see.
We'll
figure something out.
out.
Anyway, I think the only thing I've got, even though you're looking at my shitty camera, Jesus, next week I'll be coming in here and I'll let you decide, Gunner, in the next 7 days. But I'm probably going to just do my sit-down review of Spider-Man because I will have seen it by the time you see me next. So either I come here directly after and just word vomit for 15 minutes, or I wait until 9 o'clock like we did tonight and talk about it. I don't think I can do that. So we'll see.
And so next week will be like the 17th-ish, 16th-ish.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to come up with maybe a theme for next week. The following week, Christmas.
Yeah. We're just gonna. Do you remember? Was it Chat with Gunner or was it 60 Minutes? We literally sat down and talked about literally everything Christmas. I think for a solid.
Yeah, we did all the toys.
Hours. We did our favorite toys. We went through the list. We did Christmas movies.
Yeah,
we're definitely doing a Christmas episode.
Yeah, we're gonna do a Christmas episode, and then that last week we'll do a 2022 plan.
We'll do a 2021 in review and then 2022 in preparation.
I'm with it.
Great plan.
I'm with it. All right, guys. YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe, like, do whatever you need to do. Facebook, well, we're not really on there, but we're going to share this on Facebook, so go ahead and share it once you see it. Apple Podcast, go click on it, listen to it, leave a review, 5-star review preferred. Spotify, just click that button. They do the analytics. You go to Buzzsprout, I don't know why you go to Buzzsprout. If you go there, watch it. That'd be cool. It is what it is. Other than that, we appreciate you. I know you didn't listen to all 2 hours of this, most likely, but if you did, God bless you. All right, we're out of here. Peace. Bye.